Hello, this is John Hartson. Welcome to Clarendon Blue Army TV.
Welcome to Clarendon Blue Army TV with me, your host Baz. Today I'm delighted to be joined by my co-presenter Frankie. And on today's show, we have got young man Casey Pettit. Casey, how are you, mate?
All good, yourself?
I'm really good, mate, thank you. Casey is 17 and Casey has just completed his first year at Luton Town. Casey, the reason I want to talk to you is I want to find out more about the youngsters in football, like what you have to go through, especially times like now with shutdown and lockdown. I want to know what the club have set you to do as tasks at home. Should we get a bit of an insight of like what your life's like compared to what the pro life's like? So talk to us about your first year scholarship at Luton and your days before that.
Yeah, so it all started. So I was playing Sunday League like how everyone else does, just kicking the ball around. I didn't really know much about academy football. I didn't know. I thought it was just the first team, like whatever the football club has, it's just that team.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I think it was during my under-10 season, back in my striker days, I was banging them in. I was enjoying it. I was enjoying life at Sunday League, and then we got this call, and then I got invited down to have a 6-week trial for West Ham. So obviously boyhood club. So I was like, okay, right, let's I'll go and have a trial there. So I went over there. I think it was like 6 to 7 weeks I took, and then they signed me. So I spent 2 years of my career there.
Who were the coaches then, Case? Anyone we'd know?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. There have been some names that have been there a long while, like Danny Sewell and stuff like that, who's been there. But I think he's now manager of, I can't remember, but he's a first team, lower level, maybe League Two conference, but he's managing there now. But yeah, so I spent my time there until midway through under 12 season, and then I didn't get released, but I was looking at it. I was thinking the best thing for me is to leave, because it weren't really happening there, and so it was quite hard, to be fair, because it wasn't right at the end of the season where we would be finding out our decision. It was February time, I think, where I was speaking to my family, obviously, and made the tough decision to leave. But it was the best thing for me. So in 2 weeks, I think I took like a week or two, got into Millwall, had 2-week trial there, and then they signed me straight away. Millwall, yeah.
I hope you turned up in your West Ham kit.
Well, I mean that's the thing, because all I had back then was really West Ham stuff. So I remember me and my mum having to go around looking for like just plain black Adidas tracksuits and stuff. And then so I turned up. I had 2 weeks trial there, and they signed me straight away. So I knew I was wanted there. Anyway, so I spent 4 years at Millwall. There was some good and bad times, but it came to the under-16 season, so last season for me, and it was around October, November time when it was our decision time for if we get offered a scholarship or not. This is when I got released, and I wasn't offered a scholar. This was very hard for me, I think, because I personally thought I deserved it. I know a lot of other coaches who have been at Millwall and who are at Millwall still, and other coaches around said I definitely should have got one or should have one at the time. So yeah, that was quite hard to come away, especially after being 4 years.
Did you feel like that could have been it then for you when they released you? Did you think like, can't make this level, or did it make you work harder?
I think it definitely made me work harder. I know that. I think the biggest thing for me, I'll say it now, I say it back then, just to come out of anything without any regrets. So I think the biggest thing for me was knowing back then when I did get released that I couldn't have done no more to get it, So, and I think it was just a matter of when I was sitting in the meeting, I remember saying, look, you've made a mistake. I remember saying that. So, and it's just now time to not so much prove them wrong, but to prove myself right in a way. Yeah. So then I've ended up getting released from there, and it took me a fair bit to get to Luton, actually. I went on trial at various few clubs, didn't quite work out for me. Either I didn't enjoy it or they couldn't come to a decision. And it was like, well, I'm spending this much time at one club, and if you can't make a decision on me, I'm not going to waste some more time on it. I'm going to go elsewhere to see if anyone else wants me. Anyway, I joined Luton, had a trial there, and that straight away was welcomed in properly. It was a proper family-friendly club. It was lovely. It was completely different to Millwall. Beautiful it was. I've come in, and then obviously I still didn't know whether they was going to sign me or not. And I've had a week or two there. I think it was a week or two. Anyway, there was these things. So we signed a form at Millwall to say, yeah, can you put us in for these like a showcase sort of games? And there's all people that's been released that come together, make teams, and they play each other in like say a tournament, but they just play friendlies against each other. And there's loads of scouts there across the country just coming in. Anyway, so Luton were actually nice enough. They went, that's fair enough. We don't want you to miss out on that opportunity. So we went there, done all right. Had a few scouts interested in me. But I was like, actually, for the moment, I want to stay here. I want to stay at Luton. So I picked Luton, carried on my trial here. And fortunately enough, they trusted me and they believed in me and they offered me a scholarship. Within that time, I think it was like a week later, after they offered me and I signed, I had a 23s game they brought me up to. I was 16 at this point. 23s debut, I think it was against Peterborough, which I played in. I think I got like the last 10, 15 minutes. And then I've played various 18s games since then, playing up. And then now I went into pre-season, had the first full season there, playing regular football as a first year. And here I am now. They've just called the season off because of the virus, obviously. But yeah, no, I think I'm quite happy with where I am and how I've done this season.
Good for you, mate. So this first year, what would your duties have been? Would it have been a lot working for the first team to make sure their stuff's ready, set up, maybe boot washing, I don't know, or is it more now about your own game developing, or is it a bit of both, learning the trade?
So I know it's different really for different clubs. I know Millwall they train at a completely different venue to the first team. So does West Ham. I know West Ham's 23s does train at the first team training ground, so that's the same. But at Luton, we're all in the same building. So I'm not sure when we go back, because I know they're trying to build up the club to try and get a better status. I'm pretty sure they're going for category Cat 2 status. That's it. For the academy, so that's obviously going to put them in a better league and stuff. They just need a few more facilities. They had the planning permission, but unfortunately, again, because of the virus, they are unable to carry on with that for the moment. So they're definitely still going to go ahead with it. But whether or not I get to be a Cat 2 player for Luton next year, I don't know. Probably not, but I don't know. Anyway, so back to what we were saying. Yeah, so Luton's one of the clubs where we're all together. So we would go in the mornings. If the first team are training, we've got our own designated jobs that we'll do every morning for them. So I've been on goals, poles, mannequins, cones, everything. So balls there.
I bet you're glad they don't make them as big as me. And you wouldn't be lifting me around, would you?
Oh, mate, no, there are some big ones, to be fair. I've fallen over a couple of times. That's quite embarrassing. But no, it's it's good to have the surroundings of proper first team players, because you know what you're looking up to, you know, and that's who you're aspiring to be in a way. Yeah. And we've also got our own boots players to clean their boots. So I've got George Moncur, Callum McManaman, and Elliot Lee.
Okay,
West Ham continue.
Yeah, that's the one. I've gone for the two West Ham boys. What was I going to say? Yeah, Callum McManaman I also added in. He was a new signing for Luton earlier on in the season. We can change, I think, next season who we have, but I'll probably keep the same three boys to clean their boots. But so we have to do all them sort of things, as well as obviously focus on our own
That's good. That's old school stuff then.
Yeah.
That's been lost a little bit of late. And, you know, when you look at some of the old stories of older players who used to take the youth under their wing and used to have a real connection with some people and be like mentors and role models for them. And now that's been split up a little bit and you don't seem to see that as much. So the fact that's still happening in Luton's really refreshing to hear. But obviously, as you go up top level, you know, people are not going to need their boots clean because they have a new pair of boots every week. People you know, you haven't got that togetherness that I think, and I think you actually miss a little bit because of that. And you look back at it and you think, well, why do some of the youngsters not evolve into the players that they should? And it could be a little bit of that because they don't have those senior level players sort of taking them under their wing and showing them the ropes.
Yeah, no, I fully agree with that. I think it's just a matter of, I think a lot of clubs, they're now treating their youth team boys as if they've made it in a way. I think that's another problem. I know I was speaking to our head of coaching, Adrian Forbes, who had a great career in the game. He said he never played one game for the Premier League. He won't mind me saying this, but he said the one thing I think he had one regret, which is at 17, I think it was, he was playing for the first team and he had Craig Bellamy with him as well. Craig Bellamy obviously used to play for West Ham. He went on to have a great career, captain of Wales a lot. He was out there after training, an hour after training, walking out onto the pitch with 10 bags of balls or whatever, practicing his finishing non-stop. At this point, this Adrian Forbes, he was coming back home. He was already in his car. He was already on his way home. So he said he wishes he actually didn't think he made it. So he said at 17, yeah, I've probably made it now. So I don't need to do that sort of stuff. When really you do. And I think that might have come under like boot cleaning and stuff. You know, don't get too ahead of yourself. You still got to clean these boots, you know. It's like standards in a way. I think that's definitely something that they try to teach you over at Luton. Yeah, but I think it's really good, to be fair.
It's keeping people humble, isn't it? I mean, you can't imagine someone like John Terry, Roy Keane, some big captains of the past who would let a jumped up youngster who's sort of, you know, getting a bit ahead of himself. You can imagine them giving a little clip and getting them back into place and saying, look, you know, just get back into line and knuckle down. And you do see people, you know, now professional footballers at 17, 18, you know, over living the life a little bit, living like a professional footballer who's made it. And I think that's a big problem.
Yeah, definitely.
How do you stay humble yourself with not getting too carried away with, you know, obviously being at Luton Town, still a club with a lot of history, obviously a real good club. So how do you keep yourself grounded, not get sidetracked with the partying and the ladies and the alcohol and so on?
Yeah, no. So no. So I'll just take it in as like every week's a new week in a way. So I'd be like, well, I'm not guaranteed that I'm going to be starting for the 18s next week. So I've got to get on. I've just got to crack on, you know. I've got myself a girlfriend, so I don't need to be going out doing anything there. So, you know, it's I see some boys in our like my age, not necessarily at my club, but other clubs. They go out all the time partying and stuff, drinking. And I'm just like, well, that actually motivates me to do more, you know? So I see that and I'm like, right, well, I can now get ahead of them because their recovery process is now that much and I'm going to make mine that much. Yeah. So, you know, I think it's just, you know, you haven't made it until I think you've finished your career in a way because, you know, you want to make it as best as you can. So even if you have got to the first team and so, you want to be pushing to, say, get international. You want to be a regular starter. You want to get a big move to a bigger club. So I think it's just in your mind, you've got to have that, like you haven't made it to the top yet, you know?
Yeah, I think you're bang on, mate, to be honest with you. You've got the right attitude for it too. And like you're saying, you just got to take that step by step. It's big commitments and big things to give up, like growing up as a youngster, you know, every 18-year-old wants to go into a pub and go out and nightclubbing, blah, blah, blah. But, you know, that life ahead of you can be fantastic if you prepare for it right now. And with the trade you're in, and mate, I wish you all the best. With this first year scholarship coming to an end, you've obviously got your second year coming up, which could be your final year, or they could offer you the option of a third, as you were saying earlier. But this first year's been big for you. You've had huge progress. You're now under the management and represented by Integral Sports Management, which is good for you, which is a pressure off of your shoulders too. A company that's up and coming really well in the game. How much more freedom does that give you, knowing there's people looking out at you and looking after you?
Oh, it's very good. It's just good to have that support. Like we were saying, it's just a good weight off your shoulders, because now you're playing week in, week out with knowing that, hang on, I've got some support behind me.
Yeah.
If this doesn't work out, I know that I'm not guaranteed, but I know that with the hard work I put in, it's not going to go to waste. I know that they can help me out and get me somewhere else, you know?
Yeah.
So it's, Integral Sports Manager, I think that they've come up to me very, very good. I think they're polite. They're the people you want to work with as well. They, I think it's just a great environment that they create. And, and obviously the biggest thing really is that they're going to help me with my footballing career.
Yeah, the thing I like, the fact they've looked at youngsters like yourself, not just straight away massive names and trying to get all the better players and people like household names. They bothered with yourself. They got the girl from Charlton as well, haven't they?
Yeah, Kira.
Yeah. So it's good, and it's the whole game they're looking at, not just the men's Premier League or the men's top players.
Yeah.
That is something that you said. You was telling us about your story just then, and I don't know how much part Integral played in that, but you seem so clear in your mind. And when you sort of mentioned, you know, I went to a club, if you don't want me, I'm going to look somewhere else. I can imagine other kids, and not a kid, you're not a kid, but young men who are trying to make it in the world of football would get really hung up on maybe, you know, they get a chance somewhere, they put all of their effort into making it there. And then when it doesn't happen, I can imagine them getting so deflated, heartbroken that it's not, and then all of a sudden falling away from the game of football. You had this attitude of, if you're not going to work there, I'll go there. It's not going to, and it's such a mature head that you've had to go about the way that you've done things. And what it's allowed you to do is not get stuck or force yourself into somewhere where you're not happy. You've ended up finding a place that fits you. And I think that's really important for your future and to develop the best that you can. How much part does Integral play in that of sort of, you know, helping you with your mindset and saying, look, you know, don't get too hung up that this is where you're going to be. There's other options out there. There's other places you can go.
Yeah. So they're obviously a new agency that's been brought out only recently, but I've been speaking to a couple of the lads that work obviously now for them, and they were vital. They was always calling me up, always checking up on me, always checking to see if I'm all right, you know, and always reassuring me. I think that's another key thing, that they trusted me and they knew that I could get somewhere in the game, and they knew that I would get somewhere else. I think that's definitely the biggest thing. I think they was just reassuring me all the time, and I knew that I could get somewhere then. So I think that the lads behind that, it's quality really.
We had that conversation, didn't we, Baz, with ex-West Ham employee and Dave the other day on our podcast about sort of agents in football. It does seem like there needs to be more of a switch from your old style agent now to a almost life management company that sort of nurtures not just what you're doing now, but your end game and what happens if you get injured and what happens if things don't work out for you, and really life planning every aspect rather than just how much money can we get out of football, how much money can I get out of my player. It does seem like Integral have got that, the whole thing covered rather than just...
They care as well about their client, you know, and who they represent, which is really good.
Yeah.
In your trade then, being a West Ham fan, and I know you're a central defensive midfielder, who would be your biggest role model?
Well, I think Declan Rice, obviously, he's massive. I think I watch him week in, week out, obviously when the football's on, and everything he does is just like, I'm just clapping there to myself. Wow, what, like people might be watching now what's going on down the other end of the park when we're about to score. I'm watching where he is, say, where if they do lose the ball, what's he doing? Is he talking? Is he bringing them in?
That's learning for you too, right? With your position that you play. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. I mean, any time I'm watching football, it's always a way of learning, But looking at him, I think he's great. Obviously, youngster as well, coming through the academy, so it's another reassuring thing for me, knowing that it is possible. You can do it. And obviously, I've had the chance to speak to him as well, so he's definitely that's helped me there. Knowing that I can speak to him and ask him for help and advice. But just watching him and other defenders, like central defensive midfielders, coming through, and other ones in the Premier League, it's just looking at them and, you just take little bits from either one of them. Like, say, Declan Rice, biggest asset, say, passing, defending, Then you've got... say Kante, who does the exact same thing, might be able to drive with the ball a bit more. So taking little bits from each player and then trying to fit them into my game to make me the best overall player I can be. I think just any time I'm watching football, it's just a massive way of learning. And I think Declan Rice is just unbelievable. He's got everything, I think.
The thing that he gets pulled out for a lot of the time is his vision going forward, and sometimes he doesn't play that killer pass. In that role, it's kind of the unsung hero role. From someone who plays at a good level of football, do you think he lacks that? Or do you think that's in his locker, he just doesn't get enough praise for what he actually does?
No, I think from what he's doing, I agree with, 99% of his decisions, because I've been in them positions before, so I can see it. And I think what a lot of people don't understand is when you've, say, won the ball back, say you're playing Chelsea and you've won the ball back after, say them keeping the ball for 50 passes, you don't want to force the ball forward, because if you do that and you lose the ball, they're straight back on you. You want to regain it. So what I see a lot of the time him doing, he'll put it in a tackle and he'll just keep it, get the rhythm of get the ball moving, And I think that's what a lot of people don't see, and he does play them perfect wonder balls going forward, and he'll always look forward. But I don't know really, because a lot of people just seem to criticise him for that, and I don't see it, because what he's doing is actually quite clever, and I don't think a lot of people have the brains to understand it. That when he does get on the ball, he doesn't want to force it. He doesn't want to give it straight away. And even though he does risk some passes, which is rightly so, because as a midfielder you've got to do that in order to go forward. But I think you don't want to force things. You don't want to give away the ball, because then it means even more work for you, really. I think he's right.
I've not looked at it that way before, but I guess if you are under pressure a little bit and the team's had the ball for a while, if all of a sudden someone looked up, tried to play a killer pass, you give away possession again, it must be heartbreaking. You'd be like, you get inflated. But
that means you're running another, like, say, 10k to get the ball back if you're playing against City or someone like that,
And I think you taught as a kid, didn't you, to protect the ball as well, and if in doubt, put it out, things like that. And sometimes that does go a bit missing. You mentioned earlier, Kate, about with it being locked down now, and when you go back into year 2. What sort of drills have Luton set you for whilst you're at home? Is it just gym work, or are they still wanting you to do ball work too, or is it mainly just running and gym stuff?
Yeah, so obviously not a lot of people have gyms in their house and stuff.
Sorry, before you go, am I allowed to ask you? Are you allowed to say what you're doing or not?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I'm one of the fortunate people in my team to have a gym in my house, so I'm cracking on in there. They've set us a running program to do with say sprints and then endurance stuff to do as well. Not a lot of ball stuff, but they do still want us working on our, say, things that we need to improve on. For me, I'd say dribbling. So I'm in and out of the cones, and my acceleration and things like that. I'm working in and out of ladders. Just come back from a session, say an hour ago. I think they've mainly set us, running programs to do alongside gym stuff, but they do also want us working on in our own time. they call it individual development plans that we go through with them every 6 weeks. Obviously, we haven't been able to do so. We've done one online one with them before we've come away from there. But yeah, no, they do want us working still on it because they don't want us going back just kicking the ball out of play every 5 minutes, do they? But yeah, mainly endurance stuff. So we're in a good shape to go back because they don't want us, if we do have to go back, say, help out the first team, they want us in a fit state. They don't want us overweight because that can cause injuries. So, you know, they just want us to really maintain our body, I think.
Yeah, and going back when you do, and you'll then be a year 2, will you be working with the new year 1s? Like this year, was you mixed with the year 2s?
Yeah. So we will. So we're not sure about the second years who need to. They need decisions at the moment. They still don't know. So for them, I don't know what the future is. Whether they come and join in with us. I know I'm in a bit of a fortunate position now because if this was this time next year and this virus broke out, then I'll be sitting here panicking. Am I going to get one? Am I, you know? But I think we're going to still go back and do the same thing as a second year, and then the 16s that I was last year will come up, be the first years, and then we'll train as a 2-year group again.
So you'll be a senior head in that squad, as to speak. So what's your ambition for next year? Is it captain the side in your role, or is that sort of already set out from the club?
Yeah, well, I keep on nudging them about it because there's no one, no one's got it at the moment. But I know there is a couple people who are fighting for the position and who have been captain before, etc. But no, I think especially for me, I know I can see the game ahead of me. I've got a good relationship with the younger boys. I talk to them all the time. So I think the last few weeks when we were still training, I was definitely trying to improve on my communication within games, within training, to see if I could get anywhere with the captaincy next year. But whether or not that comes or not, it is what it is, you know. If it doesn't, then I'm still going to be the same player. If it does, I'm still going to be the same player, you know.
Good attitude, mate.
Yeah.
Yeah, very good attitude. I'm impressed with how you've spoken and how you conduct yourself regarding the game, because I think, like Frankie said earlier, there's a lot of youngsters in football who think they're it already. You're proving you ain't. You're proving you've still got to earn your contracts, and I do wish you all the best, mate. And I hope that comes for you sooner rather than later.
Cheers, thank you.
You're welcome, Frankie. Anything you want to add?
No, nothing from me, mate. Just obviously, just on a note to end. How are you coping with not playing football at the moment? Are you finding it difficult?
Don't even bother with that, because no, it's awful. It's awful.
Have you smashed any windows in the back garden, kicking the ball against the wall?
I'll tell you what, I've been doing some sessions in the garden. I'll send through some photos later. My mum is fuming with the grass. It's gone all orange. There's no more grass.
You know what your first paycheck's going to be, didn't you? Resurfing your garden.
Oh, no, it's awful. It's awful. But you can't. It's not even as if like, oh no, I can't play myself, but I'll watch it on TV. There's none of that either. There's none of that either. And I don't know what we're going to do if we go back, because there's been some rumours going around saying about how next season's going to be all behind closed doors. I can't see that. I can't see it. But
no, I'm with you. What's your opinion on this season, Case? Do you think it should be scrapped throughout the whole leagues?
I think it's tough. I think obviously you got teams that are fighting for promotion and fighting for relegation and stuff. It's hard. It's hard to give an opinion, really. I don't know.
Get off that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Scrap it or try and find a way to finish it. Risking people's lives.
For my sake, I'm gonna say keep it and keep going, because I know if they do try and finish the season, they're going to have like a 56-day window to finish it, and that's a lot of games in a short period of time. And there's going to be players who are running out of contract, so they won't be able to play. There's going to be players who might refuse to play because they might have family at home. They don't want to catch a virus, and then and then there's going to be loads of players who are playing this football, and their bodies just won't be able to cope coming straight back to this intense, so they might get injured. So I think for me, it's a matter of fact where if they do go back, I need to stay fit because I've got a chance here, because them 3 factors might mean that I'm next in, midfielder. So for me, I think trying to get the games to go ahead, but to scrap the season, it will do, I think, Luton a favour as well. But yeah,
they'll keep them in the Championship, right?
Yeah, they will. Yeah,
which has got to be a plus for you as well in the self.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, fair play. Well, Kate, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you, mate. As I said to you from the bottom of my heart, I wish you all the best for your future. Make sure you give Casey a follow on Twitter. His name's up here now. His management company, Integral's also up here. Make sure you give them a follow. We'll put a link up to their website as well. Make sure you hit that like, share and subscribe button. And thank you very much for watching Claret and Blue Army TV. See you all soon.